Brent here with BYOTools. On today's episode, we are refinishing this old, disgusting garage floor. If you want to learn how to do it, keep on watching. Let's start it. Woo! Now, as you can see right off the bat, there is a lot of stuff in this garage. It's my workshop. I do plenty of projects, and it's kind of a mess right now just because I have so many projects going on all at once, and there's a lot of stuff on the floor, which we need to remove. So, let's get that started.
Now, as you can obviously see, yes, there are quite a few things in this garage, and every single item that's on the floor needs to be picked up for this project. And this is basically also a good time just to Maria Kondo my life, or in this case, Maria Kondo my garage, because this does feel satisfying just getting rid of a lot of junk. Now, recently I did do a garage makeover series on how to install a garage hoist lift. And if you want to know why I'm so happy to have this garage hoist lift, this is why. This wood lathe is at least 400 pounds, and I didn't have to throw my back out trying to hoist it up because I have my own garage hoist. Now, you will first want to remove all the dust particles on the floor as much as possible at this point, and a leaf blower makes quick work of that. Now, one important step on this project is making sure that you don't have a moisture issue with inside your concrete. Now, this is a moisture test, which is just Visqueen and duct tape. You leave it over for 24 hours. If there's condensation after you pull off the Visqueen, then you have a moisture issue, and you probably don't want to do this to your garage because the epoxy won't adhere properly and it might fail later on down the road. Now, at this point, make sure you remove any excess debris, and after that, it's time to degrease this bad boy. Now, this is a cleaner and degreaser from Rustoleum, full concentrate, and I picked up this nice scrub brush that just makes quick work of a large space. I pour the product directly onto the surface. Now, the product does state that you want to wet the surface first and then pour the degreaser on it. However, I found that it was a lot easier to figure out where the degreaser is going first and then wetting the floor properly after that. Now, I scrubbed this thing vigorously, and I do mean vigorously, and make sure you don't let any areas completely dry out. And if you have it, make sure you are using a power washer because it comes in extremely handy in this application. Also, make sure you have a good squeegee, not a cheap squeegee. Get a good squeegee, and it's going to cost you like 25 bucks. It is a lifesaver. Okay, maybe not a lifesaver. It's a time saver though. Yes. Now, just to reiterate and remind everyone that the prep work for this project is the most vital part of this entire project. You can do a perfect job when applying product, but if you're not prepping the surface properly first, then it could wreak havoc on your garage, and that is never good. So make sure you take your time and due diligence with washing it down, as well as etching. Now, this is etching, and all this is a package that's actually provided with your Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shields kit, and you mix it in with 2 gallons of water, stir it, make sure all the granules are actually broken up and dissolved in the water, and then pour it onto the surface. Then scrub it down and thoroughly pressure wash all the etching off the concrete slab. Now, you may have to wash this slab off a couple times to ensure that all the etching is off, but just remember that this is citric acid, so it might irritate your skin, as well as the fact that you can actually literally hear it fizzing off the concrete, so it must be doing something, right? Yeah, good prep.
Whew, okay, yeah, that was a process. It is a process cleaning, but you know what? The prep work is the most important part of a project like this, so just keep that in mind, because if you don't have good quality prep, then your system may fail, and that is not wanted in any case, and will just wreak havoc on your garage after that. But in any case, prep done. Now, let's let it dry.
Now, you honestly want the slab to dry at least 24 hours. I waited 48 hours for it to fully dry, and now it's time to fill a few of these holes. Now, we have a couple large cracks as well as this large area right here, which really needs to be repaired slightly, which is why I take my grinder and a diamond blade and just scuff up the area as well as smooth out any large divots. Then I take my grinder and I start grinding away some of the odder areas in which I want to make sure we have proper adhesion, whether it's paint, old oil spots that I know a car was parked there originally. You want to grind these areas down to the bare concrete because you can ensure proper adhesion of the epoxy, or at least ensure proper bondage as much as possible at this point. Now this is Rustoleum's concrete repair and patch kit, which is basically just 2 thick versions of epoxy that you mix together thoroughly and then apply it to the concrete surface. Now it only has about a 30-minute working time, so if you can't get to all the areas that you want to within a 30-minute period, just make sure you're not mixing the entire thing together. But the nice thing about this is that it is 2 different colors, which makes the mixing properly portion of this project very DIY friendly, which is always appreciated. Now it's alright if it's not perfectly smooth, just know that later on when you come back to it, you can sand it after it dries for at least 8 hours. Now as for the cracks, I tried to repair and fill the larger cracks that were significant, but the smaller cracks I just left behind and painted over, which seemed to work out quite well for the most part. Now after 8 hours, I then came back and sanded any of the high spots and the rough areas that may or may not have been caused by myself stepping in it when it was wet, but easy to sand. Now it's finally time for our Rustoleum Epoxy Shield garage floor kit. Now we have multiple kits because inevitably we have a large garage, and it comes with a few different packs. This is the actual paint color itself. This is the etching that we actually applied to the surface earlier, and then of course the paint chips. Now the paint chips are optional, so you don't have to use them, but I definitely do because it reduces the variances that you see in the garage floor drastically. You'll see. Now for this project we are going with the dark gray, and the really nice thing about this 2-part component is that it's actually packaged together, and all you have to do is push on one end and then significantly mix up the solution. However, you get to mix it up in the pouch itself. I pour it into a bucket and I do stir it around a bit just to ensure I have it properly mixed thoroughly, but you don't have to do this step based upon the directions. Now as far as applying, I have a couple different paintbrushes to see which one actually works better. Also have a high impact, high quality roller that I do have a bucket, but it's also due to the fact that I can also dunk it in there and then apply to get a nice solid coat. So let's see how we do. Oh, and I suggest starting on an area that might not be as well seen as all the other places, just to, get all the kinks out first, right? Yeah. Now I found that the best brush to use was just a flat chip paintbrush. 1, because it applied the product very easily and well. 2, they're cheap and they're disposable. So if I had more of them, I would have used them for the entire project, but I only had this one. However, it worked out perfectly and it was $4. So better doing that than a nice high quality paintbrush. Now I submerge my roller into the epoxy shield and then apply it evenly and consistently all the way across the floor. Now this product does cover very well, but this is a 1-coat application, so you need to be diligent and consistent with your application to fully coat the surface in 1 coat. I personally like to work in a W pattern where I'm applying a thick coat first and then back rolling that entire area so I know I have an even coverage over the entire surface. At this time, go ahead and broadcast your paint chips evenly and consistently all the way across, but once you start applying the paint chips, you will realize you do want to work in smaller areas because no matter what, you have to be able to broadcast the paint chips across the surface, and you can't work in such large areas where you can't broadcast them evenly and consistently. Now the one thing you do want to think about prior to applying this product to the surface is the temperature. Now the outside temperature does play a factor with Epoxy Shield based upon the directions, and therefore you should have a temperature between 60 degrees and 85 degrees. Now, there are specific resting times you need to be aware of based upon the temperature outside. So think about the temperature prior to applying this product. And this nice little chart that they provide in their directions is very handy. Now, as you're applying the paint chips, I actually suggest applying the paint chips as far away from you as possible first, and then applying more paint chips that are closer to you afterwards. Now, this did take a bit of practice prior to actually learning this, but I found that it was very handy with the fact that you're not oversaturating the areas closest to you, because the chips will fall wherever they may, and it is a bit of an art form to have a consistent coverage of paint chips all the way across the surface. It's what I like to call controlled chaos. Yeah, very controlled chaos. Another thing to think about when applying this is making sure that you have a wet edge as you're working in sections, because you want to have a consistent coat all the way across, and to ensure that you want to have a wet edge so it dries evenly and consistently. Now, on a personal note, I did have to apply this epoxy paint at 2 different times because I had such large items in my garage that I couldn't move. So therefore, I did as much as I could for the first day, then came back and applied the paint to the last section. Hopefully you don't have this problem, but that's what I had to deal with on this project. Now, I waited 24 hours so I could have normal foot traffic and then applied my last section of paint. Just remember, you do need to wait at least 3 days before driving on this with your vehicles because of the weight distribution. I made quick work of this small little section because obviously I'm just becoming an expert at applying epoxy shield at this point. But guess what? After we have this taken care of, let's let it dry.
Woo! Okay, yeah, that was quite the process, and it's not a short process. However, as you can see, it looks amazing. Now, all we have to do, let it dry.
Now, after wait 24 hours for that coat to dry, I then take my epoxy shield clear finish coat and get this mixed up. Now, there is an anti-skid additive that you can add to the mixer, but preferably I did not because I wanted a very smooth surface that I can sweep off easily, and the anti-skid just wasn't needed at that point. Now, a nice quick tip on a paint roller at this point is actually applying some tape to it first and then just removing the tape so you get all those small little fuzz balls off prior to actually soaking your roller in epoxy. Now, I'm doing this to the roller specifically on this coat because it is a clear finish, and this is our finished product, so we obviously want to make sure we have a good consistent coverage with as little imperfections as possible. I mean, we are trying to go for perfection, right? Well, let's just be honest, anything on this floor would have been a better solution than what was on there existing, right? Now, the one thing to think about when applying this product is the fact that this product is not used for exterior purposes, as in it's not supposed to be in direct sunlight as well as into the elements. However, I did apply it to the 6 inches of area in which the garage door does not cover it. It's going up against my asphalt driveway right there. I personally just wanted to see if that was going to be an issue over time, and I wanted to be a guinea pig for it. So inevitably, it does say in the directions do not have it in direct sunlight. However, I will be noting this on an Instagram at some point. So if you do want to see what actually happens after months, years down the road, I will make sure and showcase this on Instagram at a later date. Now, also just remember, if you are so inclined and you want to actually purchase this product, I do have links in the description box below on where to actually find them, as well as any other tools or products featured on this channel. But guess what? After we have this coat finalized and taken care of, we are done. I never really realized what a product like this truly does to the environment that you're working in. I work in my garage all the time, and the fact that I applied this makes it feel completely different, and it feels like a true workshop, a very professional looking product, as well as look at that before and after. It makes a massive difference, and you don't even see large divots at this point. Now, there's a reason why I'm doing a garage makeover series on this entire channel. One, because I wanted to fix up this garage, but two, I just wanted a more professional look. And this product alone transforms my entire workspace, and it just feels different. And that's what I call one beautiful, sexy beast. Oh yeah. How did I miss this spot with clear coat? Come on, Brent.